If you're at a fork in the road, wondering if you should take in-person piano lessons or teach yourself the piano, this video will help you decide which path is best for you, so you don't end up wandering the valley of despair among the ghosts of piano's past. Let's break it down. The best way to learn piano, without question, is by going to in-person lessons with an in-person teacher. You really can't beat that one-on-one interaction you get with a really qualified professional. The problem is, a lot of times these teachers can be extremely expensive. And we'll break that down a little bit later in this video, but I want to walk you through what an in-person piano lesson usually looks like. When you go to a piano lesson, it's usually at the teacher's house, in their private studio, maybe they rent an office space, or they might be a professor at a university. And so you'll go to the university into their office. You'll arrive to your piano lesson 5 to 10 minutes early. Piano teachers always expect you to be on time because they usually schedule their students back to back to back. And so even just a couple minutes off of that schedule messes up the entire day for them. And so if you are late to that lesson, they'll just keep going with the next student no matter how much time you're there. For your very first piano lessons, you'll learn the basics. Things like notes, the note names, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that kind of thing. You'll learn the beats of the notes. You'll learn how to sit at the piano. And if you have a good teacher, they'll probably ask you about your goals and aspirations for learning the instrument. So think about these things a little bit before you arrive to your first lesson. What you want to look for in a piano teacher, above all, I would say is personality. Especially for adult learners, in my opinion, personality makes or breaks the teacher-student relationship. If your piano teacher is too militant or too loosey-goosey and too smiley for you, and you don't jive together, it's going to be really hard for you to progress in your lessons if you hate coming to see this person once a week. If your teacher is too militant and very, very strict about what you play, it might make you afraid to ever make mistakes. On the other hand, a more strict, militant teacher can help you progress faster because they're so on top of you making mistakes and immediately correcting them rather than just letting them sit and fester. A loosey-goosey, more touchy-feely type of teacher might be really good for you if you're more of an emotional person. And so on the emotional aspect of learning the instrument, it'll help you progress because you're so motivated to practice. But on the other hand, if they're not consistently correcting your mistakes and helping you improve, it's going to be very slow progress while you learn the instrument. In my experience, piano teachers usually teach how they themselves were taught. And so after a few weeks, once you kind of gauge that teacher's teaching style, if it's working for you, then great. But if it's not, don't be afraid to search around a little bit, especially because in-person piano lessons are so expensive. So you want to be getting what you pay for, and you want to be getting the service that you want to receive for the musical outcome that you want. In my experience, finding a teacher with a middle ground philosophy where they're strict and they tell you what to do correctly and they correct your mistakes, but also has that emotional aspect to them is the best teacher you can find. And that might be a difficult thing to do, but ask around to local universities or colleges or music schools, and I'm confident that you can find a teacher that works for you. It's kind of like finding a therapist. After a few sessions, you might realize that this therapist is never going to help you, and it's the exact same with piano teachers. But speaking from personal experience, once you find that music teacher that you really click with and that really motivates you and helps you progress, there is nothing else like it, and you can meet these goals for yourself that you never thought possible. In-person lessons are good for people with this personality type. If you're a person that needs feedback constantly, in-person lessons are wonderful for that. You're in a room with the teacher one-on-one. They can instantly give you feedback on what's going wrong or how you can improve. If you have a good teacher, they'll also praise you, which actually is really an important thing to help motivate you with something that is so emotional, like playing the piano and making music. We really can get in our own heads and in our own ways, thinking that we're not good enough. And so in-person piano teachers can really help with that self-confidence aspect of things. If you struggle with sticking with things long-term, an in-person piano teacher can really help motivate you and keep you on the right track to progress with the instrument. So what are the cons of in-person piano teachers? I think the biggest one is the expense. You can expect to pay approximately $100 per hour-long weekly lesson. So if you're not comfortable paying $400 or more per month for piano lessons, this might not be the right path for you. But again, if you are ready to take this more seriously and you have the extra cash to spare, I would highly recommend in-person lessons as the best way to learn the piano. Another con is that it takes a lot of time to commute to these in-person piano lessons. You can maybe find some teachers that will commute to your house for you, but that only works if you have a good dedicated piano space for them to teach you in. So most of the time, you'll be expected to commute to their studio or their office space. One of the other maybe not so obvious cons is that if you're with the wrong teacher, it can be extremely discouraging and even cause you to quit the instrument altogether. I've had teachers that are extremely mean and really discouraging and just very negative. And so if you encounter these teachers, don't let it get to you. Just try to find a different teacher that helps motivate you rather than puts you down in the lessons. The best teachers walk the fine line between positive encouragement and getting on you about mistakes and things like that. If in-person piano lessons doesn't sound like something you want to pursue, let's talk about teaching yourself the piano. And guys, this video is part of Wild Music Co.'s Piano Without Fear series. So make sure to like this video and subscribe so you get notified when the next video drops. Alright, here's everything you need to know about teaching yourself how to play the piano. Let's talk about piano apps first. In my opinion, piano apps do not work, and I think they're kind of horrible. They gamify learning the instrument in a way that isn't sustainable. And so as soon as that app isn't in front of you anymore, it's like you're drifting out to sea, completely lost about what to do. Piano apps teach you to follow along, not to think for yourself, because you follow along in real time as the app is teaching you what to play. Piano apps are also, I think, really overstimulating and often geared towards children to learn. Because remember, they're competing for iPad kids' attention spans, which are extremely small. And so a lot of times these apps are just really overstimulating, lots of bright colors. And again, they gamify learning the piano in a way that isn't sustainable once you try to get yourself off of the app. The other con to these piano apps is the subscription model. You'll usually be paying about $10-ish a month, maybe more, depending on the app, every single month to infinity and beyond. While I would highly recommend you avoid using piano apps to learn the piano, YouTube tutorials are a decent way to learn. These piano teachers have spent a significant amount of time creating these videos, and most of them are free for people to follow and learn along with them as they teach them the piano. That being said, sometimes these videos are very difficult to follow because you don't have any paper or anything physical in front of you as you play. And like the piano apps, it's hard to transition off of these YouTube tutorials when you actually want to start learning music that you want to play. YouTube tutorials are perfect for beginners who are wanting to learn specific popular music. Something like Don't Stop Believing or I Will Always Love You. But if you want to learn more niche classical music, these tutorials don't really work because you don't learn the basics you need to know to progress with learning the piano. Most of the time, YouTube tutorials just help you copy what the person is playing rather than actually understanding how to read the notated music. And so this can really hinder your progress as you progress with your playing and want to play more niche songs that might not be uploaded to YouTube as a piano tutorial. Most of these YouTube tutorials don't have actual sheet music that you can use to play along with the person that's teaching you. The third way to teach yourself the piano is by using books. And as a piano teacher myself, I think books are the best way, besides in-person piano teachers, to teach yourself how to play the piano. And that's exactly why my company released The Wild Pianist. It helps you learn the piano with 70 piano lessons over the course of 10 weeks. You learn all of the basics you need to know, and then slowly you progress with actual physical songs that gradually increase your skill level. The book also comes with over 100 audio files, so you can listen along to each and every song in the book while you learn to play them. And I also included the video tutorial part of the book. So all 70 lessons have a video tutorial where you can see me actually playing the music. The goal of this book is to actually teach you how to play the piano, so you don't become a copycat like you would with the apps or the YouTube tutorials alone. alone. You'll learn how to actually read piano music. And so once you get through the book, you can go out and find the music that you actually want to play and know how to play it. And the world just opens up to you instead of closes you off like the piano apps or just the YouTube tutorials alone. There is nothing else like The Wild Pianist out there, and that's why I created it, because a lot of the other piano books are very, very boring and very outdated, but The Wild Pianist teaches you in a way that feeds your emotional side of becoming a musician as well as the technical aspect of becoming a pianist. But let's talk about the personality types that work best when teaching yourself the piano. If you're good at self-motivation, teaching yourself the piano will work really well for you, because when you're alone teaching yourself, there's not that other person motivating you and encouraging you and correcting your mistakes right away. If you're able to self-assess honestly, that will greatly help you teach yourself the piano. Part of progressing is learning what your pitfalls are and where your mistakes are in the music of what you're playing. And so being able to step back and not be emotional about what you're doing wrong will greatly help you in your piano journey. Teaching yourself the piano is really good for introverts and people that might be really shy to make mistakes in front of other people. A lot of my adult female students have been very self-conscious about making mistakes because they think it reflects on them as a person and their intelligence. And so if this is something that you think would really hurt you from ever pursuing the piano in the first place, teaching yourself the piano in the comfort of your own home, surrounded by good vibes, might be the best thing for you. Along those lines, teaching yourself the piano is good for introverts who have intense stage fright and fear of failure, but still want to learn the piano. Let's break down the cost of teaching yourself piano. Piano apps range from completely free to a monthly subscription model. And the free apps usually have a paywall eventually, once you get through a certain amount of levels. Because again, it's like a game. It's gamifying learning the piano. YouTube tutorials are free unless you pay for YouTube Premium so you don't get the ads. And if you do have the free version, it can get really frustrating when there's an ad break every 5 minutes when you're trying to learn this instrument, because it can really distract you. The Wild Pianist ranges from $98 to $198. And within that price, you get the book, the 110 plus audio files that go along with every song in the book, and the complete 70 lesson video library. There are no subscriptions. And so once you buy the book, you're free forever from paying for piano lessons or anything like that when you're in this beginner stage that you're in. The Wild Pianist is less than the cost of one traditional piano lesson. And so this might be a really good route for you if you're unsure of whether or not to take in-person lessons, because you can learn everything you need to know with the book. And then if you really enjoy playing the piano, then you can transition into the more expensive in-person lessons. So what are the cons of teaching yourself the piano? I think the biggest one is that it can be difficult to stick with it because you don't have that other person constantly motivating you and showing up for you when it gets difficult. If you get confused in the moment, there isn't another person that you can ask for help. But something some of my readers have been doing is using AI to help them in that moment of confusion, and that can really help you progress faster. But sometimes the AI hallucinates and doesn't always tell them the correct answer, so just be aware of that if you attempt to use AI to help you with your lessons. The other con is most teach yourself piano methods don't support you as a whole person, because most of us don't want to become piano playing robots. We want to become musicians that are thoughtful and emotional, and that we can put our souls into the music that we play. And most of these teach yourself piano methods don't really work like that. And that's another reason why I wrote The Wild Pianist, is that it really encourages you to self-reflect on your piano journey, because it really is a journey that you're going to be going on. I want you to become a lifelong pianist, not just someone who has a app subscription for 3 months and then quits forever. But guys, whatever method you choose, I hope this conversation has been helpful for you. We'd absolutely love to help support your piano journey here at Wild Music Co. But whatever method you use, I believe you're meant to make music and begin this piano journey, or you wouldn't have watched this video in the first place. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day. Bye, lovely musician.